Hey guys, welcome back. Ninja Llama here once again. Got a new video to show you. This is an evening at the card table with the deck Fueled by the Fallen. This is a new video type series I'm thinking about doing. This is where I'm going to show you a card deck that I've created um, and some of the general ideas behind them, as well as the cards that I've chosen. And you'll get some feedback from you guys, help me build a stronger deck, and maybe help you guys build your own decks from hearing my strategies and hopefully improving upon them. Uh, this is my first animated thing, so we'll see how it goes. I had a lot of fun making this. It was a lot of hard work, but I think it was worth it. If people enjoy it, I will definitely make more. Let's go ahead and jump right in. You can see the three factions that I've chosen for this deck. I have the Warpath, the Flame Dawn, and Sleepers of Avarak. Let's go ahead and get started. In our command zone, we have Brings Life by Passing. It gives us one extra resource. I normally try to play this the second turn. It helps get get your cards out there onto the table faster, and I think that's very important. And at the very least, it is a target for control spells, like Death Rays or something, so they don't hit your other cards. And this right here starts to show the backbone of this deck. This is the Infested Knight. When he attacks, his power becomes equal to double the number of characters in your graveyard. And that is going to be a very common theme in this set of cards, is that that's kind of where the name came from, Fueled by the Fallen. The more characters die, the stronger your remaining characters get. And the ones you play, like here's a Zombie Scavenger. Whenever an undead character dies, it gains 2/2. And so these cards will continue to gain in power as the game goes on. Let's go ahead and jump in to the actual card deck that we will be drawing from. The first one up is a mainstay. There's 19 of these Endless Horde in the deck because they will gain 1/1 for every other Endless Horde that has already been put in the graveyard. So these by themselves can get very powerful late game. But this also, when these die, it will buff the Infested Knight and the Zombie Scavenger in our command zone, which is a good combo. Next up, it looks like we have Infectious Zombie. I threw this in here because I thought it was a pretty strong card for a 2-cost. It's 5/5. It can kill another character, and you get it under your control, which is always nice. Fit with our Sleepers of Avarak faction. And this one right here is one of the strongest cards of the deck, I think. I used to have it as a commander instead of Zombie Scavenger, but I learned that people would always kill this thing if they could with any kind of Death Ray or anything, because they realized how powerful it was. So I put it in the deck so that way it can just come out, and catch them more or less by surprise. And I've thought about doing that with the Infested Knight also, especially because it has charge. That means it could be a really effective surprise. That just all of a sudden there'd be this really strong force in the assault zone, mid to late game, that they would have had to, see beforehand, which they may not have been able to. So that may be a good idea right there, to either switch these out so the Infested Hulker's in the command zone and the Knights in the deck, or just both of them are. But I think this is shown to work pretty well so far. I've been having pretty decent results with it. Here's 3 more Zombie Scavengers. Nice to sit in the command zone and just let them build up as your Endless Horde keeps dying. This Bloodthirsty Dead is nice. 4/4 Bloodthirst, so it'll go into an 8/8 if it attacks a character. Next up, we have Converted Prototype. This is just a card that is strong without relying on the actual dead cards. It's just strong all the time, which I thought was probably important to have. These are very cheap character cards, and since I had one of the Flame Dawn chosen as my factions, I was able to get these 1-cost characters with charge, and they're really not strong in themselves, but once they go into the graveyard, they buff both our Infested Knight and our Infested Hulker, which is the main reason I put them in. Here's an Infected Purifier. This is just another card that I felt was pretty strong, just to help kind of round out and not have everything deal with the death of characters, even though that's the main thing. This is a Callie Ascended. She is a very good card in my opinion, especially for a 4 cost. The flying is really nice. It's actually one of the main banes of this deck, and you'll see some answers to that a little later. But put 2 of those in there because the card is shown to be really helpful in a lot of matches. Here's a Terramoose. This is a good card that has charge. It's just another solid card that can just jump out and go right into the assault zone and really takes them by surprise, which is another reason why I may want to move the Infested Knight in there, because it's also had charge and it would have an even bigger impact. This is a answer to the early times when I started building and testing out this deck on some human players mostly is where I noticed the problem. But anytime they had flying characters, they just ran me over because there was no way I could deal with it, and they would just destroy my health before I could do anything about it. So I put these guys in there to try and negate some of the flying risk, as well as these Killaroos, because you can play them the turn they come out of your hand because they have haste, and they can block flying characters, which is nice. Now that we've covered the card deck, let's move into the abilities. Kind of buff our card we already have. This Overwhelming Dead card obviously plays off of the overall theme of the deck, with the more characters we have in the graveyard, better, and the more undead we have, better also, because that will, buff more cards. So here's 5 2/2 cards, which you just throw in your defense zone and just let them get mowed over, and just buff your other cards quite well, actually. Here's Fill the Graves. This is mostly useful for buffing up your Endless Horde in like the early game. Pretty handy to have, I think. There's 2 of those in the deck. Here we have Awaken. This is due to the fact that people seem to like to kill the Infested Knight and the Hulker also. And this is a way you can bring those back out of the graveyard and use them again. So it's not like if they get killed once, then you've lost that strong power. You're able to get it back. Fear is good. If you're ever in a tight spot, I really like the Fear card. I played it in some pretty critical areas. And this Feast on the Dead card, I think, is really important for this, because especially when you're fighting against the Descendants of the Dragon, where they make you lose more morale when your characters die, and even just in a general battle, you lose a lot of morale in this set of cards, because the overall theme, is that they're dying, and these cards can really just basically reset your morale. You can be down like 15 or 20. If it's a late game, you play this, you'll jump back up to like 80 or 90 easily, and you don't have to worry about killing yourself, basically. And here's just another strong ability card that I thought was nice. If there's just any character that I think is too strong, I can play that and kill it, and then in 3 turns it'll raise to under my control. So that's nice. This is Swift Strikes, which is another, I think, big advantage from the Flame Dawn group, just because the Hulker and the Knight are really strong, and even the Endless Horde gets really strong late game. And you can play this or both of them if you're lucky enough to have them in your hand, and just double or triple your damage. And if they don't know that's coming and have to block it, that can just be a one-hit KO if it's late in the game. Because I regularly get the Infested Knight with powers of 30 plus, and the Hulker is it's pretty much in that same territory. It's very strong deck. And here's the last card, and our abilities Drag Down. It's just a really cheap way to just get rid of a flying character, because they really were the bane of my existence in the first dozen matches I played with this. I've done a lot of play testing with this deck. Try to round it out a little bit. When I started getting I don't know, probably over half of the matches that I played, I started to win with these cards, then I thought I was going in the right direction, and I just kept refining, and I'd say now I probably win 70% of the matches that I play with this. One of the downfalls, though, is that if you get rushed right at the beginning, that's kind of hard to recover from because your characters aren't that strong. But here is an overview of the cards. I'll let you take a quick look at this before we move on to the analytics blueprint, a little bit more technical side of the card deck, I think. So we'll just go ahead and jump into that. Here is the card curve, quantity versus cost. You generally, would like a pretty even bell curve with most of your cards in the middle. It didn't work out exactly like that, but I think the fact that our cards get stronger as we go makes up for the fact that we don't have a lot of higher cost cards. So those 3 cost cards start hitting, like higher cost cards in the late game, and you can get them out for less cost. So if you can make it to the late game, you can do some serious damage in a hurry. And a lot of times it comes down to you just getting the cards out and being able to hit their fortress, and then by then they'll just do enough damage to go ahead and take them out. And you can see the actual numbers of the cost over there on the left side. Let's go ahead and jump into an actual card list. If you're interested in building this deck for yourself, or hopefully you will tweak it to work better than I have it, because there's still a few situations that are hard to deal with. Flying characters are kind of difficult, but there's enough cards in there to deal with them that makes it okay. Rushing has been a huge pain because you just can't get your cards strong enough to make a good defense right at the beginning. But a lot of times the draws are good enough that you can build up fast enough to at least save yourself. So that is the overview of this deck. Again, it is entirely dependent on how many characters and undead that you end up in your graveyard or have dying. I thought that's a really cool mechanic these cards have, and I wanted to try to exploit it. And I think I did fairly well. At the very least, I've really enjoyed playing with this set of cards, and I hope you enjoy it also. Maybe you learned something. Hopefully you'll leave me some pointers, because I would like to get better at this. Here's some better strategies to try and help shape my own future card decks that I'm going to build. And maybe the next video that you guys see will be hopefully a lot better animated. This took me a lot more time than I care to admit, but hopefully I'll get some better software and be able to make it look a little better. But that's going to do it for this video. Like, favorite, subscribe. You know what to do. Thanks for watching. Please leave comments below. I'll read them and respond. Hopefully we can start making some really strong card decks out there. Thanks again.